Om Jnanatmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyapadi Pasyate Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. I thank the temple management and Her Grace Vaijayanta Sakhi Devidasi for giving me this opportunity to glorify Srila Prabhupada. So, my topic today is lessons from Chapter-4, Volume 1 of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta. But before that, since yesterday was Gita Jayanti, I want to share a pastime, like highlighting the importance of Gita, not just as our code, but as a code for everyone who lives here. So, once, the first time Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj had visited South Africa, the first time he met the president at that time, Nelson Mandela, he was having a discussion with him when he started quoting a sloka from Bhagavad Gita. So, while he started quoting that, Mr. Mandela had finished the entire verse. So, he was surprised, but then he continued. And then the next sloka he quoted, Mr. Mandela finished that one as well. So, Bhaktivedanta Maharaj was very surprised. He was wondering how, right? Because how will Mr. Mandela know the whole Gita? So, he tested him. And Mr. Mandela said, try me, you can try me. I know every sloka. And then every sloka that Bhaktivedanta Maharaj started, he finished it. So he asked him, how did he know the Gita? So he said, during his time in prison, when during the struggle for independence, the prison there was, at that time it was very brutal. They were forced to do extremely inhumane and hard labor. So they realized that they had to, keep their mind occupied if they wanted to stay sane. So what they did was, there was, along with all the prisoners, there was one Gujarati lawyer. So to stay sane, they conversed in Gita slokas, and they all learned Gita. So like that, that's how he knows the entire Gita. And then he told that because of this, I was able to stay sane, and the Gita greatly affected me, and it changed my view of the world. So this really shows that Gita is not just for devotees, it's not just for people in ISKCON, it is a code for everyone who lives in this material world. Yeah, it's a code for everyone who lives in this material world. Hare Krishna. So, the chapter title for Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta, this particular chapter, is How Shall I Serve You? This question was asked by Srila Prabhupada. At that time he was called Abhay Charnaravinda. So he asked this question in a letter to, this letter was the last letter that he had given, that he had sent to his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And then he asked the question, how shall I serve you? And the instruction which he received from the return letter, that is the reason we are all here. So the story, the chapter, it doesn't start with this. It starts with one of the biggest Vrindavan parikramas at that time, the Vrindavan parikrama of October 1932. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he had arranged a Vrindavan parikrama involving not just his disciples, but every single pilgrim, everyone. He had made a Vrindavan parikrama. So, and this he used as a method of mass preaching. So, Abhay Charan, who lived in Allahabad, he had also learnt that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was in this parikrama, and that he wanted a chance to visit him again. Keep in mind, he was not initiated at this time. So, due to his business, he could not attend the entire parikrama. So what he did was, he tried to attend the one day. He decided to attend it at the 20th day. So before this, I would like to tell a little bit about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was a revolutionary preacher after Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because he was one of the few people in our sampradaya, in our parampara, who was focused on global preaching. He did not want to stay as a Babaji. What the Babajis used to do was, they used to stay in secluded holy places like Vrindavana, and they used to practice bhakti there. But he was focused on global preaching, and he knew that Westerners will not easily accept that this kind of living, the living of an impoverished mendicant. So he introduced the concept that devotees can stay in a big palatial temple. They can stay with material opulence as long as they don't use the material opulence for their sense gratification. So he was ready to spend millions of rupees for building a temple, for printing books, for all sorts of activities, but not even a single rupee for his own sense gratification. And he preached that for preaching, devotees must they should not show that impoverished mendicant, but they should be ready to travel in the most expensive conveyances. They should be ready to wear sewn cloth and all sorts of material opulence for preaching. And he also introduced he was also open about awarding the sacred Brahminical thread to people who are not just from Brahminical families, as was the custom that time, because he was preaching Rupa Goswami's philosophy of a Brahmana is a Brahmana if he acts like a Brahmana. It depends on behavior. So even if a person from a family of Shudras acts like a Brahmana, he can get a Brahminical thread. So he also was ready to use the most modern printing machinery for Krishna to print all of his magazines and newspapers. He also made a temple, a marble temple in Bagh Bazaar, Calcutta, and there was also pretty much an art gallery, but it was of a theistic expression. It basically had dioramas of clay dolls, which was an art form in Bengal. There were hundreds of dioramas, and it just showed the pastimes of Krishna. So by 1932, he had 3 printing presses in different parts of India, printing 6 journals in various Indian dialects. And he also, in Calcutta, he had made the Nadia Prakash newspaper and the Harmonist magazine. So he was once asked by one Indian politician, how do you expect to make a newspaper involving only spiritual activities? And the reply which Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave is pretty beautiful. He said that if in Calcutta there are like dozens of newspapers, if all of them can send news about all the material stuff happening in Calcutta, the spiritual world, the material world is just a fraction of creation. So the spiritual world, which is billions of times bigger, that news is much more infinite. If there wasn't a shortage of readers, even the newspapers could be infinite. So coming back to the original, the story, the October 1932 Vrindavan Parikrama, Abhay Charan, he reaches the Parikrama party, but until before that, the Vrindavan Parikrama, it was a smooth journey until they were opposed by the local panditas. The panditas who they opposed him because they questioned his leniency. Like, why were you giving Brahminical initiation to Brahminical thread to people who are not Brahmanas? And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he quoted like Rupa Goswami and a bunch of other slokas, and they seemed happy. They seemed pleased. They said okay. But then after that, when they reached the 7 main temples in Vrindavana, they found the doors closed. They were barred from entering, and even the shopkeepers had closed their business, and local people were throwing stones on the crowd. Even though all of this was happening, they did not lose their temper, and they continued in good spirits. So when Abhay Charan finally reached Kosi, they were all faced with a choice. Either they could stay and listen to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's lecture. This is his final lecture before he leaves the Parikrama. Or they could visit Sri Sheshashai temple, which is a temple of Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu. And obviously a lot of the pilgrims, they had gone to visit the temple. But Abhay Charan, he realized that what is the point of coming to a holy place and not hearing from a Vaishnava? So this is pretty important, because he said that when visiting a dham, you must hear from a pure devotee, from a bona fide parampara. That is what is important when you go to a dham. So to attend the lecture, there were only a few people to begin with, and as the lecture passed, Abhay Charan was listening with rapt attention, and he felt like a spiritual revelation was, coming on him. He was an amazing listener, and it had a deep impact on him. So after that, he left supercharged with the words of his spiritual master. Afterwards, on November 21st, 1932, in Allahabad, Abhay Charan learns of the Sri Rupa Gaudiya Math getting constructed. It's a temple, and that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was visiting. So he thinks of getting initiation, and he asks the temple president, Atulananda Swami, if he can also take initiation. And after that, he talks to his wife, and she was ready for him to take initiation, but she did not want to take initiation herself. So before this, Abhay Charan he was already sort of initiated, but it was just like a ritualistic initiation by some family priest. There was no bhakti involved, there was no instruction given to him, and he was not connected to Krishna by a parampara. So it's not really a true initiation. And so he gets introduced, and Abhay De was already a very influential person in the Allahabad community, because he used to take and attend kirtans, he used to take lectures, he used to preach, and he also used to invite influential worldly people and get large donations for the temple. So he was already a very influential person there. So anyway, but when all these qualities were told before Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he didn't really care about that, but what he cared about was he was a good listener. Being a good listener is the first and foremost quality when it comes to being a good disciple. So he was instantly accepted, and then something amazing happened. During initiation, he got both the initiations at the same time, which means he got the first initiation and the Brahminical initiation at the same time. And during this time, he also got instructions to study the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which was written by Rupa Goswami, and it's a law book of Bhakti. He was told to study and preach that. So after getting the instructions to preach, he took that to heart and he tried to implement it, like as in he wanted to invite devotees over to his home. He wanted to invite worldly people into his home and preach and give prasad. So over the next 4 years, he tried to time business trips to Calcutta along with the arrival of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So like that, he meets around a dozen times, and there was one particular pastime which left him pretty confused. He was in the courtyard of the temple there, and when a huge poisonous snake came towards him, and then he called out for his godbrothers, and when they came there, they were also confused on what to do. Then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur came, and then he took one look at the snake and he said, "Kill it." This left him pretty confused. Like, if you're supposed to be extremely merciful, then how can you kill a snake? But then afterwards he reads a sloka, and then which says that even great saintly persons take great pleasure in the killing of a snake or a scorpion. So this left him satisfied. Okay, it is part of Shastra. Then on the 62nd Vyasa Puja of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Abhay he wrote a poem and a speech, and this speech was sent to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and when he heard that speech, he became greatly pleased, and he said, "Whatever Abhay Charana writes, please publish it." He said that. So he published all of this in the Harmonist, which was his magazine. So eventually, in November 1935, during Kartik month, he met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he received some very confidential info about his disciples in the Calcutta Matha. Since before they lived in a very poor place in Ulta Danga, but now that they shifted to the new very palatial temple, they were fighting for rooms, like I will be the proprietor of this room. His leading disciples were fighting like that. So this left him very disappointed and very sad. And he was preaching that devotees can stay in a palatial temple. They should not just use it for sense gratification. So this greatly affected him, and then he gave the instruction to Abhay Charan that they were very happy when they got a few 500 rupees because for printing books and book distribution. But now that they shifted to a palatial temple, they become pretty arrogant. So then he tells Abhay Charan, if you get money, print books. And obviously he has taken that to heart. He has established ISKCON. He has taken that throughout his life. And this deeply affected Abhay Charan. And lastly, in November 1936, this is when he asked the letter, asking his Guru Maharaj was in very poor health, so he asked a letter on how shall I serve you and what instruction should he get to serve him. And the instruction which he got is, you are a very good, you can speak English nicely, which means you can preach Krishna Consciousness and you can preach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings all over the world and in English so that other people can understand. And this is why we are all here, because one disciple has decided to take his spiritual master's instructions to heart. So, to summarize the important lessons from this chapter, it's that listening is the first and foremost quality of a disciple, and that if you following the instructions of the spiritual master, that is literally what a disciple should always strive to do. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Thakur ki jai.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So very nice explanation, nice class by Bhakta Kapila. So please thank Bhakta Kapila by chanting one time Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So there is message for Bhakta Kapila. Dear Bhakta Kapila, Krishna is within your heart. If you kindly continue to hear about him as you are doing, then Krishna will be very much pleased. Oh, this person is now interested in me, because nobody is interested in Krishna. So Krishna is also silent to them. But as soon as you become interested, oh, Krishna becomes very active. Oh, he is trying to do something. I shall help him. By Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. So I will ask His Grace Sumadra Chaitanya Das Prabhuji to hand over this gift to Bhakta Kapila. The book is Consciousness, The Missing Link, by His Divine Grace Abhay Charana Arvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Ki Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki. Now Maharaj is having breakfast, so by that time we will do kirtan.